Keeping this in mind, do you think something new will emerge which will help researchers like you to do the research and forecasting?
I sincerely hope so. I hope, see, the thing is that any new platform that comes, it does not come with a noble idea of disseminating information or being a messenger of truth or whatever
Yeah,
for the people. There is a hardcore business angle to it, right?
right.
So I sincerely hope, but I don't see the possibility of that happening. Um, Again, with other platforms, the limitations are different because if you look at a Facebook, the algorithm is different. It's
Yeah,
for elections or for news junkies, it may not fit the bill. Similarly, for Instagram, it's not
yeah,
possible. But if you talk about technology, I mean, we've seen a lot. We had text, then we had audio, we had video, now we have multimedia. The next big thing is going to be AR, VR, and metaverse.
yeah,
So those are the areas that we need to keep an eye out for. And I think in the next decade or so, the next after the YouTube election and maybe the Instagram election, the next elections will be fought on the metaverse, where we will have political parties campaigning, and people are just putting on their uh, headsets and listening to
yeah.
politicians from across the globe. So we
Hello and welcome once again to Kitaabi Baatein, a podcast where we make sense of India and the world through books. My guest today is Sanjeev Singh from Money Control. He's a career journalist with more than 2 decades of experience. He's currently serving as a consultant to moneycontrol.com and is also a visiting faculty at Chandigarh University, Uttar Pradesh campus. Sanjeev, welcome to Kitaabi Baatein.
thank you so much, Abhishek.
So with Sanjeev, we'll be discussing the book, The Online Effect, which he authored last year. And this book is about elections. Now, elections are a topic which is always popular, which is never out of fashion because elections keep on happening. Now, this is also the age of social media, wherein we are seeing how social media is impacting every aspect of our life, and politics and elections are no different. In this book, The Online Effect, Sanjeev has talked about how social media, particularly X, commonly known as Twitter, is impacting the electoral results, how much it is influencing the electorate, how much the opinion is being shifted due to the impact a politician is having on X, and that is getting reflected in his vote share, in his victory, or whether he's winning or losing. There are many aspects to it, and Sanjeev has undertaken a very detailed study before writing this book. And this book primarily covers what he did learn about elections, what he learned about elections in the context of social media, and how we can, you know, actually predict the outcomes. And Sanjeev, as I was going through your book, what's written on the back page is it possible to provide the correct answer to the most crucial of all questions? Who will win? And this is indeed one of the most important questions. This is what a journalist, keep on doing, as you yourself have been a journalist. This is what people are, fond of watching on the day of the elections and when all the poll surveys happen. But before that, has you taken this aspect of determining the relation between social media, especially X, and election outcomes? What has been your inspiration to write about? Or-
Abhishek, thank you so much once again for having me on the show. And I'm very grateful to you that you thought that this book was worth the time, your time, and your subscribers' time.
Yes, indeed.
See, as a journalist, and that too as a political journalist, you're spending most of your time, covering election rallies,
Yes.
various, elections in different states. And you wherever you go, either you meet a politician or you meet a IAS officer or a government official, they all tend to ask you कि क्या हो रहा है, क्या लग रहा है, what is your
Right.
take on the election, right? And um, this is a trait or a craft that you pick with experience. So when you travel around, you talk to people, you know exactly when they're saying the right thing and when they're just, hedging their bets, etc. But that is a very um, individualistic trait, right? It varies from person to person how they assess the mood of the people.
right.
And that was one question that always kept coming to my mind, that can there be a scientific way of judging this where, you can go through the rigors of science, statistics, mathematics,
Right.
data to come to a conclusion, uh, and be in a position to say that yes, based on the calculation, this party or this person who's contesting the election has the edge. So I think that's where it all started. And this was the time when social media was just uh, coming in a big way.
Yes. Yeah.
So the missing factor was data, and with the advent of social media, I think that missing link, or the crucial missing element for that study, had been provided to us. And I think I
Yeah.
just got lucky to be there at the right time. And therefore, all those thoughts being put into action culminated in this book.
Right. So, as you mentioned that you studied the Twitter accounts, how many tweets they had and all, and we of course saw an exponential increase. You gave some data initially around before 2014, and now as you're seeing they are in thousands. Even for many people, it's way more. One other thing I wanted to ask, that predictions has always been, there. Predictive analytics as such is an old methodology. Of course, it came into prominence, I would say, more in the last 10, 20 years with the advent of advanced statistical measures, with the social media coming in, with the more importance being given to data. But as we were already having all these exit polls and pre-poll surveys, which have been in vogue since past couple of decades, how do you see, and if you were to explain it to, say, a layman or someone who is watching it out of interest, what exactly is the difference between the approach being followed in a pre-poll survey or an exit poll and what you did through using the data in X?
See, I think the basic difference, I will differentiate between a pre-poll and an exit poll.
Yeah,
Some pre-polls have a lot of scientific rigor in it, and it varies from the questionnaire and the size of the sample and geographical spread of that sample. But I'll
right.
talk specifically about exit polls. See, in an
Yeah.
exit poll, basically you are outside the booth, and
Yes.
you are talking to people and asking them, who did you vote for? Right.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is you're actually calculating the view based on what they say, but there is no way to verify what they're saying is correct. I could have
Yeah.
voted for BJP and said I voted for AAP,
Yeah.
right? That theoretically that holds true, right? Which is why,
Of
if
course.
you see that, in that period from, I think, 2005, 6 onwards till about till 2020, in that period you will see that a lot of exit polls actually failed,
Yes.
and
Yes.
not just in India but even abroad. So a classic example is the 2016 US election. Uh, one very big agency had done a poll and they had predicted that Donald Trump is losing. And then after the election was over, they researchers actually came up with a term called the shy Trump syndrome, which is
Hmm.
that if you ask somebody in person who they're voting for, they would be shy to say they're voting for Trump. But if you ask them anonymously or over an email, uh, they were more open to saying that they are voting for Trump.
Yes.
And perhaps
Right.
that was one of the reasons why these polls did not work.
Mm.
And uh, since I was also pursuing my PhD, so
Okay.
I happened to go through a lot of this kind of research that was happening. And it really fascinated me that, you know, can we find a credible way of being able to do this? And therefore, you know, we went through the entire rigor of having a more scientific approach where numbers are there for everybody to see. It's a
Yeah.
very transparent approach where numbers, mathematical formulas, the statistical rigor, everything is there in front of everybody to see. And the
Right.
results, I mean, I'm very grateful to God that the results also proved the same.
The same. Correct. So that of course is there. So as you're saying, we can be, as you what you're trying to say is, if I understood it correctly, you're trying to say that what you did is basically you can be more accurate, because as you said, there always a possibility that when you ask someone, they may not be telling you the truth. But if someone has Twitter
Exactly.
engagement or social media presence, which can be easily viewed, even a layman can view it at how many likes it got, or how many people retweeted, or how many actually read it. So, considering this, can we say that it's as simplistic as the one who is getting more engagement on Twitter is winning? Because I don't know, doesn't work that way. So, how exactly does that work? I mean, how do you figure out that okay, what's happening by the number of engagements of the retweets?
Okay, so I'll give you what I went through.
Yeah.
With these thoughts in my head, um, I try to search for a platform. See, ultimately, you need data because data
Yes.
does not lie.
Mm.
So it's the most objective form of content that you can analyze.
Right.
So we were searching for a platform where we would be able to do justice to this topic. And of course, a lot of platforms existed at that point of time. You had
Yeah.
Facebook, you had YouTube, and of course, you had Twitter, which is now X. So
Yeah.
the reason why we went with X is because, as everybody knows, that it is the platform for real-time information.
Right.
If anybody across the world wants to know what is happening in the world at this point of time, then the platform that you go to is X. Facebook has a different algorithm. They work more on emotions and friendships, etc. YouTube is totally different, long form, audio video content. So
Right.
therefore, we zeroed down on X. Now, once we decided it's going to be Twitter, as you rightly said, um, we we thought it'll be as simple as just being able to uh, just scrape some data and be able
Yeah.
to do it. But actually, the work started right from the 2017 UP elections, which happened
Yes.
in March.
Yeah. So you
So,
talked about that in the book as well. Yeah.
we took out some data and then we tried to analyze and see whether it works. So from there, then we carried on and we went to the Gujarat election. We got some data from the Gujarat election and realized that somehow we were not being able to match the data, and that carried on till 2018. Actually, in my study, I had studied 10 states, but because by the time we figured out uh, the parameters that we need to have for all elections, we were already in 2018, and
Right.
to get those particular data points from previous elections was virtually impossible for us. So therefore, it was a lot of trial, hit and trial method through which we were able to finally close or zero in on the data points that we need. And then from 2018 onwards, we picked up 7 states, and even in the 7 states, we've got a mix of north, south, east, and west, and also some states with a majority of tribal population, like we had Jharkhand, uh,
Yeah.
parts of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh also have a tribal population. So we try to cover states like that. We have industrial states like Maharashtra and Haryana in the north. Then we had Telangana in the south. So it was a healthy mix of states that we had. So therefore, we tried to cover as many geographical points as possible using the same data points. So on the basis of that, um, we got all the data points. Now
Mm.
you can get all the data, right? But it has to undergo, statistical rigor for you to be
Yes.
able to say that yes, this numbers or the point system that we're saying holds true. So
Yeah.
that also took a lot of time. So actually, uh, what we thought was a very simple exercise took us almost. You see, I started my work in 2017, and I was able to submit my thesis only in 2021. And
Okay.
from there to the book, It came out in early 24, so you can calculate the amount of time it took to finish this work.
Right. So, like as I talked about the other election surveys, there also is a margin of error which in any statistical study does. In Twitter, there is a possibility that there may be fake accounts or there may be bots which may be inflating, the numbers in terms of the likes and also. How do you deal with that?
So that was a limitation, and
Yeah.
it's mentioned very clearly that it is a limitation, and it applies to all political parties or
Yes.
political handles, politicians that we've covered.
Yeah.
In fact, in that at that point of time, Twitter had also gone through that whole process of weeding out these bots, etc. And a lot of politicians lost a lot of their followers.
Yeah.
Um, in fact, I remember Ashok Gehlot, he lost a lot of followers at that point of time. So those limitations were always there. But as long as you stick to certain data points which are common for all handles,
Hmm.
then I think more or less it held true. So we
Right.
had the data points, and what we did was that we did not quantify it. So let's say somebody like Narendra Modi or a Rahul Gandhi.
Yeah.
At that time, Narendra Modi's following was 2 or 3 times more than Rahul Gandhi's, right?
Right.
So now, of course, if let's say he has a base of 50 million followers, and he gets 500,000 retweets, and Rahul Gandhi only has 5 million followers and he gets 100,000 retweets, the number is vastly different, right?
Right.
So you have to calculate the percentage. So
Right.
we use percentages and averages to try and have a very objective and a
Right.
median figure which
Right.
was able to deliver these results for us. And then even in that, so like at that point of time in Twitter, you had likes, you had retweets, you had replies.
Right.
So that was again the challenge, that how to use what. So
Right.
based on a lot of studies, see, Europe and the US were at least 5 to 6 years ahead of us, right? Um,
Yeah. Of course.
uh, so in 2008, actually the first social media election was fought in 2008 by Obama in the US,
Obama. Right.
and he had used Twitter very effectively. And after that, most of the other leaders in UK, Europe, etc., they used it to good effect. Even
Right.
in Australia and Fiji, they used Facebook more at that point of time. And we know that our current Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he was always a leader when it came to adapting to new technologies, new
Yes.
methods.
Of course.
So he had the first mover advantage for sure,
Right.
and he did that. So based on a lot of studies, we focused on retweets, because when you retweet something, it is basically giving your support to that
Yes.
particular content or
Yes.
opinion or whatever. Likes or replies may not mean that much. So we zeroed in based on the studies, we zeroed in on the retweets. And
Okay.
then based on the retweets, we made a skeletal formula
Mm-hmm.
where we we took the Twitter handle of political parties in those states, and we took certain political leaders. So like in Rajasthan, you had Congress and BJP. So we took the Twitter handles of both state handles of BJP and Rajasthan, sorry, of BJP and Congress in Rajasthan, and we took Vasundhara Raje from BJP, and we had Sachin Pilot and Ashok Gehlot from Congress. Now, Congress did not have a very clear front runner. So, like even in Madhya Pradesh, they had Kamal Nath and Jyotiraditya Scindia. In Chhattisgarh, they had Bhupesh Baghel and they had T.S. Singhdeo. So, we took all the possible front runners and one from BJP, and we calculated uh, the engagement they were getting. We
Yeah.
converted it into percentages, and we put a statistical formula based on which the results we got were very encouraging. So out of the 7 states that we did for my study,
Yeah.
we were able to correctly predict the highest, the party with the highest vote share in 6 states. The only state
Okay.
where we missed out was Haryana.
Hmm.
And as you know, in Haryana, that at that point of time, it was a very close election
Yes. Yes.
between Congress and BJP. So that's the only place where, you know, we were unable to get the math right. Also because, we had Randeep Surjewala, who was at that time he was heading the um, he was the national spokesperson. He was of the Congress
Yes.
party. He was heading the entire publicity wing. So of course, the kind of traction he got was more than others.
Yeah.
So um, still, I would say that I'm happy to take 6 out of 7 instead of 7 out of 7.
That's really great. So one of the questions I had was that, so as if we are talking about say chances of success of BJP in an election, you would go through say the tweets of Prime Minister Modi. Now there are other factors such as BJP itself has its own handle, yeah, which is not the same as the Prime Minister Modi's handle. There is a PMO handle, and then there are people who are very significant, or you can say very popular. For example, Dr. S. Jaishankar. Because I've seen people who may not be very fond of BJP, but yet they are very supportive of Dr. Jaishankar. There are people who may not support BJP, and yet they like what Mr. Nitin Gadkari is doing. So to gauge popularity and to gauge the chances, do you focus more on the top leader or on these accounts as well?
See, our study was limited to state elections, right? So we
Hmm.
focused on whoever was the face of the party in the state.
Hmm.
So, and in Maharashtra, we had a huge number of people because we
Yeah.
had Sharad Pawar, we had this Uddhav Thackeray's son. Uh, what is Uddhav
Aditya
Thackeray's
Thakur.
son's name?
Aditya
Aditya
Thakur.
Thackeray.
Yeah.
Because Uddhav ji did not have a Twitter handle at that point of
Yeah. Yeah.
time.
Right. Right.
Then we had from Congress, we had Balasaheb Thorat. Um, we got NCP, and we had Devendra Fadnavis from
Hmm.
BJP. So
BJP.
they were we that's why we did state-wise, because if you do a national level thing, then there are too many variables that you need to take care of, right? So
Yes.
we
Yes.
excluded all the national leaders and we focused on the state handle of the party and the leader who, based on, I also did a survey with a lot of journalists, and based on the feedback from them, we decided the candidates, and we also decided 4 topics that we'll do on jobs, um, which is employment, we'll do on development, we are going to do on corruption, and fourth was agriculture.
Right.
Because in 2018, at that point, it was a big flashpoint in Madhya Pradesh.
Yeah.
A few farmers had died, and it had become a big issue. So we kept these 4 keywords that we searched for and saw the kind of engagement that leaders were getting. So I'll give you an example. Let's say in Rajasthan.
Yeah.
In Rajasthan, the state BJP handle, uh, the state BJP handle was doing far better than the state Congress handle in terms of engagement. But Sachin Pilot and Ashok Gehlot were faring much better than Vasundhara Raje,
Yes. Right.
right? What happened in the election? We know the famous dialogue that BJP तुझसे बैर नहीं वसुंधरा तेरी खैर नहीं,
Yeah.
which clearly
Yes.
showed that there was anti-incumbency against the person they were pitching as chief minister, right? Now you move to a state of Madhya Pradesh, adjoining state, right? There,
Right.
the state Congress handle is doing better than the state BJP handle. But Shivraj Singh Chauhan is beating Kamal Nath and Jyotiradittya Scindia hands down in terms of uh, engagement.
Yes.
And there, as we know, it was a very close election. And we all know that the entire BJP campaign was all saddled on one person, Shivraj Singh Chauhan.
Correct.
So, despite people being fed up of BJP, Shivraj Singh Chauhan was almost took them to the finish line.
Yes.
And you move to Chhattisgarh. See, all these 3 states are almost together, right?
Understood. Yeah.
Um, yeah. And in Chhattisgarh, um, Congress, Bhupesh Baghel, was way ahead of everybody else. And the state Congress handle was beating the state BJP handle hands down. So we knew very clearly that Raman Singh is over.
Yeah,
So, I could see these trends, right? And for me, Raman Singh was very important because he was termed as Chawal Baba and all that. And I would say, BJP is losing. And at that time, nobody thought Raman Singh will lose.
yeah,
So they say, hold on to your horses, you never know what will happen in an election. But these are
right.
the kind of insights that, we kept getting through our dashboard. And it's so interesting to see how what was happening online was being reflected offline, or what was happening offline was being reflected online. And
True.
therefore, one of the biggest achievements I feel of this book is that it busts the myth that what happens offline does not happen online, and
That-
that the gap between online and offline, that gap is slowly bridging very fast.
Yes. So my next question is actually related to that. We talked about the digital divide. I remember it was being talked about at least a decade back. There is a lot of digital, divide, which basically means that the internet and all such related, facilities, services, products are more into the urban areas, not much in rural areas. People there are not much well versed with technology and all. Yet your book explains it very clearly that, so if you have to take social media, there is not much of a digital divide now, especially as your research suggests. So if you can tell us a bit about that.
So I think that was always one thing when social media came. People used to always say that a social media is a paper tiger. It does not
Yeah,
reflect what's happening offline.
exactly.
Um, but the only way to judge that was to actually use the data and see whether it works or not. And in my experience, have a robust uh, if you have a robust mechanism in place, it is very easy to show that digital divide is a myth. And i- and the data I've collected is from 2017-18, right? Early
Yeah,
parts of 2019. So data has been collected in 2018 and 19. Book comes out in 2024, but it still holds true. So I'll give an example. So for my PhD thesis, one very senior faculty member at the university was asking me, but there is this huge digital divide, and how can you say this? And the regular questions. Fair enough. Those questions should be asked. Uh, so I was lucky that because since I knew that this is one question that will come up, right? So at that point of time, also, I'm talking about 2021, the number of uh, smartphone users in rural India were more than number of smartphone users in urban India.
open.
That's because we maxed out urban India, right?
Yeah,
Now the growth is happening only in rural areas. Even if you look at online languages, content, we maxed out English and Hindi.
yeah.
But there is this huge demand for quality content in regional languages.
Regional
That is where the
languages.
growth is.
Yeah,
So even now, you see, why is that growth happening? If people don't have access to internet, if people don't have smartphones, how are they going to access that content? So I feel that from that point of view, today's India is changing in terms of emerging markets. So urban India is a maxed out market, and
yeah.
emerging and growing market is rural India. Earlier,
Rural
it was
India.
about internet penetration and smartphones. Now it is about delivering quality content.
No, that's very true. So another question related to, because your study is based on X. So there were earlier, views that X is a bit biased. It's more like leftist, left leaning. Now with the Elon Musk taking it over, it became more like a conservative or right wing. So do you think if a website which claims, a particular political or think leaning in terms of its socio-economic thinking, do you think that can also affect the outcome of a study? Something similar to what you did?
Um, See, it's very subjective, right?
Mm.
Uh, Twitter at that point of time did not stop anybody from opening an account,
Right.
right? The only problem happened was in 2020 when you know, the Trump election was happening at that point of time, and then you saw that
Right.
all the all those protesters had marched in, and at
Yeah.
that point of time, a lot of tweets were being put out which were labeled as fake or untrue or whatever. So I think in that sense, it was a pretty liberal platform which allowed for both sides of views. And in any case, let's say, you and I are on Twitter, you're left wing, I'm right wing, and I'm posting something. People have a right to ignore the content that you and I are putting or to endorse the content you and I are putting. So in that
Right.
sense, I would say that Twitter was still objective because it was liberal, it
Yeah.
allowed different points of view. Yes, at some
Right.
stage we did reach a level where we thought it was getting too much, but during the
Mhm.
course of the study, I never got that feeling, and we ensured that we did not exclude anybody whom we were studying from any kind of thing. As I said, the data points were same for all of them.
Yeah. Okay. That's
See
nice.
now, now Abhishek, things have changed, right? After Elon
Mm.
Musk took over, a lot of
Yeah.
changes have happened. You can pay money and you can get a blue tick.
Yes.
So, if you read the last part of my book, the spokesperson of Taliban also had a blue tick,
Yes. Yes.
right? So, and the backend has changed, the algorithm has changed. Earlier, it was very, it used to encourage researchers to use the data.
Yes. Right.
Today, it's very tough. Like when I applied, I mean, when I asked for the API the second time round, they asked me questions like I was some FBI agent,
Oh, okay.
wanting to scrape that data. So a lot of things have changed. Therefore, it's there's nothing like replicating the same model and being able to say whether you were right or wrong. But unfortunately, the ownership changed hands and a lot of stuff changed at the back end. So we were unable to do that. So in today's times, I would say that yes, um, if people say that Twitter was very left leaning now, maybe it's right leaning now because if you pay money, you have a blue tick. Earlier, that was not the case.
Right. Right. That's true. As you did a lot of research, you went to many articles of other countries to understand how it had happened. Do you see differences between when it comes to predicting election outcomes because of the differences in say the political structure, the social structure? We have the caste issues, religious issues, and which determine which affect the electoral outcome. So, do you see major differences between how things work in Western countries or any other country for that matter and India?
Of course, I mean, there are a lot of differences. Like, I mean, in Western countries, normally there's a two-party system or a,
Yeah.
two coalition system. And you have certain pockets which are left or right or Democrat or Republic leaning, and some other swing states which where this happens. But in India, that's not the case. Which is why when we did the study, based on our interviews with a lot of senior journalists and people who cover elections, we decided to limit our study to four issues, which I told you
Yeah.
about: jobs,
Yes.
development, corruption, and farmers.
Right.
So we concentrated on only on these 4 points. And let me give you an example. In Madhya Pradesh, Shivraj Singh Chauhan had zero tweets on corruption, and Congress party was going hammer and tongs on corruption, right? In Rajasthan, um, Vasundhara Raje's least number of tweets for unemployment.
Hmm.
So you see, what happens is that uh, parties or leaders do not talk about topics where they feel that they're on a weak wicket.
Yeah. Right.
But those are issues which matter to people.
People.
And therefore, we cut through the clutter and we just stuck to the basic issues that we think matter to people in an election, and we
Right.
focused on them. So in that case, that became a very uniform sort of, uniform issues which you will find in India or abroad anywhere you go.
Right. Cool. So one question is as you said, how X helps determine, election outcomes. And of course, social media is being used for many other activities, projections, and different things, whether it's consumer preferences, brands, and everything. So, as you are someone who has, done this actual research, so my question is, does things like Twitter or any other social media, do they actually influence the outcome, or they show this data because out the outcome determines them? Because, for example, what I'm saying, because there was a BJP wave since like 2012, 13, and that resulted in BJP having three consecutive victories. And in many states where they had a good command, I mean, except Kolkata or except West Bengal or the southern states. So everyone was expecting, even before social media, started playing such an important role, that this is the time of BJP coming in, and Congress is in decline. So do you think it was something which was anyway happening, or is it happened because of social media? Because this is talked how PM Modi, used social media to his advantage. So how you think what exactly happened, or is it somewhere like the mix of two?
See, till 2014, we relied mainly on traditional forms of media, right?
Yes.
Radio, TV, print. Narendra Modi was the first politician who embraced social media. And, he was there on all platforms and he was trying to reach out through those platforms. And that became the fourth alternative. People did not
Yeah.
realize at that point of time, but, in every election, we get X million of people are added to the voter list. And these are young voters. If you catch them young, they stay with you for the next 30, 40 years, right? So that's where, the opposition lost out. Rahul Gandhi,
Right.
for the longest time, did not have his own Twitter account. He was using Office of Rahul Gandhi. So I think those things matter. And now the reason why BJP does so well is because it has gone back to basics.
Right.
After the 2014 election and after the 2019 election, other parties thought that, boss, this is a very easy way of winning an election. Let's just spend money on social media. Let's get active on social media. And if we get the engagement, people will vote for us, right?
Right.
So once they started spending money and they also started getting traction, then BJP realized that now these guys have figured out the game, right?
Right.
So how can we beat them at this game? So they went back to basics. They put their boots on the ground, and they have such a um, what do you say, such a military type of structure, disciplined structure at the lower level, and they use social media to maximum effect. They have WhatsApp groups. All
Yeah.
the updates are done on WhatsApp groups. If, let's say, they're going to distribute um, certain kits, medical kits during COVID time, people were given targets. They would send photos from there and send the update on their WhatsApp group. So they've actually gone the full 360 degree, and instead of just realizing or being totally dependent on social media like other parties, they
Yeah.
now focus with boots on the ground. And that's what other
Yeah.
parties don't realize. That they
Right.
think that just
Right.
a photo op and they'll be able to circulate that and then show that it's happening. But it doesn't work like that. What you do online has to reflect offline. So unless
Correct.
you marry the two and have a good mix of the two, it's not possible to be able to replicate what BJP did earlier.
No, that's very true. So we talk of social media, we also talk of AI as, it's going to affect our lives, everything, and social media again is no exception. How do you think adoption of AI by the people, by the social media apps companies, do you think that will further impact what we saw, like predicting outcomes or people forming opinions and all? How do you think that will change the landscape?
No, see, you can use, there are two aspects to artificial intelligence. One is that it can do your mundu jobs, it can do the
Yeah.
easy jobs or the tedious
Right.
things that take time for you to do.
Yeah.
It can do that for you. It can do a basic analysis or calculation for you. But you need, but you need human intervention. You need human management to make sure that whatever the algorithm is giving you whether it is correct or not, right?
Yes.
That is one. And the second is that AI gives you the scalability.
Mm.
You can create a product, but in order to be able to replicate it at the speed, that's why you need these technologies to come in. So in in relation to elections and these things, we saw a lot of deepfake videos,
Yeah.
right? Which did the rounds. Like this 2024 election was actually a YouTube election. People say it was a YouTube election
Yeah.
because all the other platforms had been gamed. So it had moved from Twitter to YouTube. Maybe the next election will be on Instagram, who knows? So
Correct.
scalability, and second is that it does the basic job for you. But again, as I said, that it requires human intervention. You cannot outsource everything. You can outsource the basic work to AI, but the
Yes.
final version has to be done by you. Otherwise, you are going to get into a lot of trouble.
Correct. So, Sanjay, my last question. You wrote a very beautiful book. You explained things very well, and as you said, what you did, it did prove useful. It did prove accurate. So, when you mentioned that you're probably not, using it much in the future, not, taking this study further. So, is that so? And if yes, why?
So, Abhishek, as I said, that the algorithm has changed for
Mhm.
Twitter. A lot of changes have happened at the back end after
Yeah.
Elon Musk took over. Uh, they are relying a lot on AI and automation, which is
Yeah.
helping them do it. And then, of course, it is a platform to make money.
Yeah.
So, you take the subscription, you get a blue tick. So, therefore, the reliability or the credibility of the platform has taken a hit. But what has it gained? It has gained because he's brought in automation
Yeah.
and he's reduced the cost and he started giving these subscriptions. So it has become, I mean, it will become a viable business model, right? So
Yes.
ultimately, in order to strike the right balance between running a platform for real-time information like X and having a successful business model, uh, the loser is a researcher like me
Yeah.
because the data points that we need, the kind of platform it was earlier, it's no longer the same. So now, if I try and do it, firstly, I won't be able to get so much data out of them.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't have that kind of money to pay them. Earlier,
Yeah.
it was free. Secondly, the algorithms have changed. So conducting a similar kind of study, maybe doing a test first on chalk and then on cheese.
Right. So as things are changing in the social media world as well, like as we were discussing earlier, there was Orkut which was replaced by Facebook. And then Facebook, we had Instagram, we had WhatsApp, which practically replaced the messaging app because WhatsApp is what is being used everywhere. Keeping this in mind, do you think something new will emerge, which will help researchers like you to do the research and forecasting?
I sincerely hope so. I hope, see, the thing is that any new platform that comes, it does not come with a noble idea of disseminating information or being a messenger of truth or whatever
Yeah.
for the people. There
Correct.
is a hardcore business angle to it, right?
Right.
So I sincerely hope, but I don't see the possibility of that happening. Um, Again, with other platforms, the limitations are different because if you look at a Facebook, the algorithm is different. It's
Yeah.
for elections or for news junkies, it may not fit the bill. Similarly, for Instagram, it's not
Yeah.
possible. But if you talk about technology, I mean, we've seen a lot. We had text, then we had audio, we had video, now we have multimedia. The next big thing is going to be AR, VR, and metaverse.
Yeah.
So those are the areas that we need to keep an eye out for. And I think in the next decade or so, the next after the YouTube election and maybe the Instagram election, the next elections will be fought on the metaverse, where we will have political parties campaigning, and people are just putting on their uh, headsets and listening to
Yeah.
politicians from across the globe. So we hope to be around to see those things.
Yeah. I'm sure that will be quite interesting thing to watch. So, Sanjeev, it was great talking to you about this book and about elections and predictions in general. As I said, election is the perhaps the favorite topic of Indians, and I'm again no exception to this rule. So, all those who are watching this is one book I strongly recommend. We all know that there is a social media which influences, but how does it exactly do when it comes to election? I think we want to know that. Do read this book, and I do hope that Sanjeev, continues his research in some way or the other and gives the insight something similar to what we got in this book. Sanjeev, thank you so much for your time. It was wonderful interacting with you.
Thank you so much, Abhishek, and I wish all your viewers. I hope if you do buy the book, please do give your feedback. If not to me, at least to Abhishek and to Kitaabi Baatein. And I hope to see you again whenever I am out there publishing my next book.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abhishek.